Hi, everybody. It's Christina Quick. Give me just a minute here and let me get set up. If you can hear and see me, let me know in the comments below if my sound and audio is good. And while we're waiting for everybody to show up, let me know where you are coming in from. Where are you watching from? Today, we're going to be talking about the healing medicine of serpent magic. It's a very, very fascinating topic, a very big topic. Lots of things that we could talk about, but we will be here for the next hour talking about my experience with being a serpent priestess and how I kind of got wrapped up in all of it and how it all sort of happened for me. Okay, so I've got this pinned to the top. It looks like we have Renee's here, Dara's here. Okay, good. People are starting to come in. How you guys doing today? Jared's here, Dara's here. Renee, Kirsten, Susie, hi guys, welcome. So I'm just going to briefly go over the whole Summer of Magic thing really quickly, and then we're going to get right into it because I have a lot to talk about, as you know. So welcome to day one. This is the Summer of Magic. This is an annual live conference that we do every single year. I host this. This is our 4th annual one that we've done. Pretty amazing. And so what it really is I'm a marketing coach. And so what I do is I have a mentorship program that I teach for tarot readers, astrologers, psychics that do readings, who want to become spiritual life coaches, who want to have a deeper, more profound relationship with their clients, who want to charge more premium rates, who want to even start getting into things like passive income and selling courses and workshops and stuff like that. Hey, Vila, good to see you. And so what I have is a 6-month program that's dedicated to that. And every year we do 2 graduation ceremonies. And this is our summer graduation. So I just want to give a round of applause to our summer graduates this year. They've been working so hard. We start planning these events several months ahead of time. We start planning these events 3 to 4 months ahead of time. So it's very an in-depth process, and we love doing this for you. We love coming back every year, offering our classes and teaching and getting to meet all of you new wonderful people, introduce you to our work. And really what this is about is making friends. It's all about making new friends, making new memories, finding ways to beat the heat, staying inside, or if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, you're probably really cold right now and you're probably inside anyways, right? So finding ways to entertain ourselves, finding ways to connect with one another, meet some new friends, network, exchange ideas. It's just a really great time. So we're going to be running all the way through Friday. This is a 1-week event. We have 14 total presenters and teachers this year. Fantastic turnout this year. This is the biggest event that we've done yet. So I also want to give a round of applause to all of our people that have been sharing this event with their friends, have been inviting their friends and family, posting on their social media about this event. We see you and we really, really appreciate you. And honestly, we couldn't do this type of thing without you because it's really for the community. It's a place to connect with other people in the spiritual community in a really high vibe way. So I'm so glad that you are here. We will be ending on Friday. Now, we have a couple giveaways in the group. If you look in the announcement section and also in the guide section of the group, there are 3 different posts that talk about different things that are going to be given away. So we have different challenges and different activities to get an entry to win a gift. So I'm going to be giving away 3 books in addition to I'm going to have a free gift for you. Every single person that presents and has a workshop for you this week is also going to have a bunch of free gifts for you as well. They also might even have their own different like contests and raffles and things going on. So please make sure that you try to attend the ones that you really want to attend live, because that's where you're going to get the best and best way to actually win a gift. Okay. And so I'm going to be asking you today at some point, I need a couple people, if you plan on staying through the whole 1 hour at the 45 till like 15 till the hour, 45 minutes in, if I could get a couple people to just remind me to ask the secret question. I am giving away a copy of this book. It is called The Witch's Herbal Apothecary, rituals and recipes for a year of earth magic and sacred medicine making. And it's by a lovely lady. And if you can see, there's a really cute little snake right there on the front. But it's a very nice book. It's got that glossy paper. There's like, it doesn't have a lot of pictures in it, but it has like a lot of recipes. Okay. It has recipes for like so many different things. There's like how to make moon milk and different herbs and different concoctions and tinctures and infusions and stuff for different phases of the wheel of the year. So there's like summer things to make, different ways to prepare your coffee and using herbs and things like that. It's a really, really good book. It's very, very informational and it's very educational. So I will be asking a secret question, and then what you're going to do at 15 minutes till, you're going to go, you're going to think about the secret question. And then after I'm done with the live stream, then you'll go to the announcement section or the guide section. You'll find where I'm giving this book away. And then you'll answer the secret question there. And then I will choose somebody on Monday to win that. And all of the entries are going to be due on this Friday. Except for the review one, which you'll read about it. It has like the due dates, when the cutoff is, and all that kind of stuff. So all of the gifts will be rewarded on Monday. There's a couple of the raffles that are ending this Friday, and then I think there's one that ends Sunday. So just read through it, and you'll be able to follow directions. If you have any questions, please reach out to me, and I will be happy to address those for you. So I would love to know, what do you guys feel about snakes in general? I don't know if you can see, I have my 2 ball pythons over there. You'll probably see them squirming around over here and slithering around over there as they're waiting. But I would love to know, what do you guys like in general sort of think about snakes, or what do you do in terms of like adding them into your magical practice? Do you currently work with any type of serpent energy? Have you ever met like a serpent guardian? What has been just your general experience with just working with snakes? And then I'll go through and I'll read those as I go on through my story, because I want to take some time today and kind of talk about how I got even involved in this. And it's funny because the truth is that I don't even know. It was about 3 years ago, and I literally woke up one day and I had something, it's kind of in the way that Christians might say they had something planted in their heart or planted in their mind or something like that. But it really felt like that. Like all of a sudden I literally woke up one day and I became obsessed with snakes. And I wanted to know everything about snakes. I wanted to know about the different kinds of snakes. I wanted to know about their habitats. I wanted to know where they came from. I wanted to know everything about snakes. And so it started like this obsession with me over probably the next 2 years, where I was like super, super really just literally, that was like my first thought in the morning, and it was my last thought going to bed at night. And I was so obsessed with it. And I'm sure you guys can actually relate to this, because that's actually normal. A lot of people, I mean, we all go through these little obsession pockets, and they kind of wax and they kind of wane, and some things they kind of, we get really like, it's like getting really into this type of music or getting really into these kind of movies or something. We all have like our little, trails of obsessions that we just get kind of swept up and wrapped into. And it's fun. It's really cool to do things like that. It's like an immersive experience. You get to learn about new things, right? We do that with spirituality and modalities and things like that too, right? So, I mean, it wasn't such an unusual thing. The unusual thing is that it ended up lasting and persisting for 2 years. And I know that you're probably like, wow, that's a long time, because it really is a long time to be having these persistent thoughts. And if I think about it now, it was really like a calling. We think about, goddesses and certain gods or certain deities or nature spirits like calling us. I've I've never really had a very strong calling from any type of deity or divine being. I have learned how to work with certain divine beings, and I'm very familiar and I'm on a very friendly basis with a lot of divine beings. But I wouldn't ever say that I had like a calling. Like it was just like unavoidable, like I had to follow this. And that's what it really felt like. And if you've ever had a calling to something before, then you know there's nothing that you can do to avoid it. You just have to go through it. You have to investigate it. You have to see what's there for you. And that's what it like was for me for several years. I researched snakes and I learned about all the different kinds of breeds and species of snakes and the different classifications and where they were from and what they ate and what made the best pet snakes and things like that. Because I was really, really at that point, like, I don't think that I'm going to be able to feel satisfied if I don't have physical snakes in front of me. It was that strong of like a calling, right? Yeah. Oh, snake is okay. So we have snakes is my totem animal, very ambiguous symbol of healing wisdom. And I'm going to talk about that too. Snakes are, there's so many different cultures and so many different religions that have snakes in them, especially in their creation myths, but also as adversaries as well. So it's really interesting because snake can mean so many, it can mean something very evil, but it could also mean something very benevolent to different people. And it's such an interesting thing. And I think what makes snakes so interesting is that they're so controversial, right? Like there's just so many different thoughts about what they mean or what they represent. And I know personally, I come from a Western approach to, my culture. And so in my culture, Western culture, the Abrahamic religions are at the very core of our government, our cultures, everything. And in the Abrahamic religions, the serpent was an adversary. It was a foe. It was evil, right? And several stories, like the most famous one is that in the Garden of Eden, this Lucifer not Lucifer necessarily, but Satan transforms into a serpent to tempt Eve to eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. But there are other biblical references to snakes. Like, for example, when Moses was leading his people 40 years in the desert, they came across many deadly snakes. And they had prayed to God to have some sort of healing. And so Moses basically attached like a serpent or the effigy or the symbol of a serpent to his staff. And whenever people got bit and they would look upon the staff, they would be healed. And so there's many different biblical myths and lore about snakes, but there's also other cultures where, like, for example, in Norse culture and spirituality, your snakes are often seen as foes and adversaries as well. If you think about the Iceland Nordics, they didn't really have snakes, so it's not really a big part of it. But if you think more about like the Celtic Nordics or the Northern European Nordics, you really do see snakes a lot as far as being like kind of demonic beings, because you have, well, the most famous one would be Jorgmundur, which is the world serpent that travels and slithers across the world every single day. And every morning and every sunset, either Thor or Odin have to fight the serpent so that the serpent doesn't eat the world. But there's other myths out there where it's not a negative thing. For example, in the Australian Aboriginal creation myth, the rainbow serpent slithers the whole continent, slithers around the world looking for its tribe, looking for its people, comes and, the slithering makes the valleys and the waters and the rivers and the mountains and things like that. And then also you have Quetzalcoatl, which is like the Aztec or Toltec kind of god serpent, which is the rainbow bird serpent, kind of like you would see like in the Japanese folklore, where they're kind of like bird, snake, dragon, water being type things, right? And so, and then you also have in North America where you have several Native American tribes. Now everybody has their own different stories, But we have the story of the Rattlesnake Brothers. That's a really good one, where two brothers of a Native American tribe transform themselves into serpents, rattlesnakes, as a intermediary between the people of the tribe, and then God or even the ancestors, right? And then also, even in South America, you have like creation myths where we were actually from serpents, that serpents and snakes and reptiles are our literal ancestors. And we look at that biologically, that's kind of true in a way. I mean, there's this progression, right? We all kind of branch off, but we all started with the reptilian kind of like way of thinking and DNA and things like that, right? It's a very, very primal thing. But I actually have another training. It's called 7 Secrets of Success with Serpent Spirit. And I'm actually going to give you guys a link to it today that you can watch it if you haven't watched it yet. And I talk a little bit more in depth about the different myths. And I talk more about approaching serpent energy more from an animistic shamanic approach, meaning that, because one thing that it's become very apparent to me, and I've been searching, because I would really love, the pagan in me would really, really love to attach some sort of god or goddess or a deity to the snakes. I mean, there's a lot. There's the Minoan goddess, there's Mami Wata, there's Quetzalcoatl, there's different other. Lilith is strongly associated with the serpent. Inanna, if you're looking more of the Babylonian, Mesopotamian kind of goddesses, or even the Naga in the Hindu faith, or the Japanese serpent gods in that faith. Looking at different deities, and what I've kind of found out is that no deity specifically is reaching out to me. It's literally just the serpent themselves. And so that's been really interesting too, is that because, I've been looking for like books, and I've been looking for resources and things like that to kind of learn more, because I figured obviously there's someone out there that has been through this before, right? I can't be alone. There's so many different paths out there, and so many brilliant people are writing books and sharing their knowledge now. And so I thought, well, surely someone else has already created a system that I can just learn, right? No such thing. What I'm doing here is I'm really creating my own thing. This is my own thing. And for better or for worse, it's kind of lonely at times because there's not any resources I found that really describe what I'm trying to do. But then at the same time, it's kind of like a slow process because, like I said, I don't even really know how I ended up here. I've just ended up here, and I just know this is what I'm supposed to be doing. It's almost kind of like this magic or this system or this way of regarding serpent energy is being birthed out through me. And it's a long, painstaking process because, my ego mind wants all of the answers right now, but that's not how it's working out. That's not how it's flowing. Every so often I get what we would call like downloads or divine downloads, or information that kind of comes to me as far as like applications and processes and rituals and things like that. But something I have become very, very clear about is that this is something new. This is not something that already exists. And like I said, that can be quite lonely, but it can also be really liberating too, in that it's something that you don't really have all the answers, and you don't really know, and it just kind of comes back to making you live more in the present moment, making me live more in the present moment, which is a big part of serpent medicine, is about grounding and being in the present moment. So that's part of the medicine for me. And it's sometimes the medicine doesn't want to go down easily, but I trust the medicine. Okay, let's read some comments here. For me personally, I'm scared to hold them or be around them, and that's absolutely normal. So if you have an aversion to snakes, I was terrified of snakes too when I first got involved in this. I didn't know how it was going to work out. I didn't know if I was ever going to be able to do this. But I have done it, and so far so good. But everybody is scared of snakes to some extent. It's a really primal thing, so it's really normal. If you are scared of snakes, it is completely normal. I totally get it. Jared says, been working with Jorgmundur and rather destructive force, but also elements of understanding the self and transformation of who I am and who I need to become. And that's a really important motif when it comes to the serpent energy or persistent archetype of this destroy and create. And I think a lot of that comes from the fact that every few months, snakes shed and they go into this dormant period where they appear that they are dead, but they are not. They are just being still and waiting and transforming, like the catalyst, the chrysalis, right? And shedding their skin, and then they reappear as if they're fresh and new and regenerated. So there is also a very destructive force behind serpents. And there's also a very powerful creative force. And so when you work with serpent energy, you can absolutely learn to collapse and create worlds, especially at the microcosm level and on the internal level, right? On the external level, it's a reflection of your internal, but serpent energy is a very internalized, internal type of energy to work with. And it's really great for transcending your fears. It's excellent for learning how to take control of situations in dire situations, like when you're in the middle of panic, and how to navigate panic and things like that. How to confront those programs and those systems that we have within us through our ego and through our upbringing, and even ancestrally, that kind of keep us in this kind of bubble of fear, right? And so what that really does is it keeps us from actualizing and manifesting the highest version of ourselves when we do that. And I'm not going to sit here and say everybody needs to get a snake and confront their fears. There are many ways to confront your fears. This just happens to be my way of confronting my fear that happens to work for me. So don't think that, I want everybody to go out and buy a snake or anything like that. That's not it at all. You can simply work with the energy of snake. You don't even have to ever be around snake, but I do feel that if you only work with the energy of snake, and I'm just talking broadly, I'm not talking at anybody in particular. I'm just saying if you only work with the energy of snake, but never work with the physical aspect of snake, you're missing out on a lot. Snakes make me think of rebirth, transformation, Kundalini, self-healing, and Kundalini is that's absolutely where I first started getting into the idea of working with serpent energy, is when I was doing yoga a lot, and I belonged to a yoga place, and I was doing yoga like 3 hours a day. I did that for a couple years, and I would just go and they would talk about the serpent uncoiling and things. So that was really my first introduction to working with serpent medicine in an environment that was not related to the Adam and Eve story, right? Some fear, but I've recently become more comfortable seeking out snakes in nature. That's really cool. I like to go herping too. It's called herpetology. It's called going herping when you go look for animals in the wild. It's pretty cool. You can go take photographs and stuff of them. Renee says, I've been a keeper and handler. They are a guardian. A golden one came to me on a sacred journey. And then there was my serpent gift story. I hope maybe you'll spend some time, Renee, and just spend like 5 minutes and talk about that as a follow-up to this workshop today when you present tonight, because Renee is going to be coming in later tonight talking about lucid dreaming. Yeah, she says, I've had red-tailed boas, ball pythons, Burmese. Vila says, I wouldn't say I'm afraid of them. I was raised to watch for rattlesnakes, right? I'm also from Arizona. I'm also from Lake Havasu City in the Mojave Desert. And so living with snakes is absolutely part of the gig over there. I wouldn't say I love them, but I would ever want one as a companion, right? A lot of people feel that way. And sometimes I wonder why I feel this way. Yes, preach, liberate the light and the healing symbol rod Asclepius and the twin snake Caduceus is our DNA. I was reading a really cool story. There's because it's like a hybrid of the Greek and Hebrew like myths, but also I was reading a really cool story about that, the rod of Asclepius. I hope I'm saying that right. And it was about the origin of the Oracle of Delphi. So we all know the Oracle of Delphi was this the oracles of Delphi, where the uh, oracles are prophetic, priestesses that would work and do visions, and they would, and it was thought that they were taking hallucinogenic or psychedelic kind of substances in order to generate these visions and prophecies and stuff. And what they later found out was that it was basically like on some volcanic activity, and so like the fumes from the underground volcanoes and stuff were kind of like seeping up and causing them to hallucinate and things like that. And I was reading some, I don't know if it's true or not, it's just something I've read, but it was some story about how originally the Greeks kind of conquered that area, and that area was much older and had originally they were dragons, dragon energy, that there would be dragons there that they could ask for visions and prophecies. And you'll also notice when you start to study serpent magic is that you'll see a lot of the times that dragon energy is kind of like entangled within serpent energy. So I wouldn't say necessarily dragon energy and serpent energy are necessarily the same, but you can see that there's a big correlation between them, and that they kind of it's almost like dragons got demoted to snakes in in art, especially in Renaissance art. I don't know if anybody has ever noticed that. Lilith and Medusa is who you work with. Those are two really powerful deities for sure. Minoan was the first one I thought of. There must be more. Yeah, the caduceus is one of the most ancient symbols of two snakes embracing the wand. That's like really, really popular motif, and it is on the Two of Cups. A spoonful of serpent medicine, a spoonful of serpent helps the medicine go down, right? Vila says, I think that's very exciting that it's a new thing. Serpent represents knowledge to me, and I like that you're pursuing intuitive knowledge. That's exactly what it is. That's the best way to put it, is that it's completely intuitive. And as frustrating that is, it's also very exciting too. Yeah, Medusa's certainly got a bad rep. There are a lot of different origin stories about Medusa, for sure. Speaking of personal experience, when I worked on a cleaning for one lady, the next day she told me she saw a dream with a cobra there coming to her. She was first afraid and then calmed down, so she felt my spelling. Interesting. I've had many Pythia, yes. Look up the Renee, thank you. Look up the origin of Pythia. It's a very interesting origin myth. Hey, Rebecca. Yeah. Okay, so I'm already a half an hour in, so I need to get going here. So basically, I'm going to get to my notes so I can keep myself on track. So, because I could sit here and talk for 4 hours about this. So it was deeply planted in my heart, and then I started researching. And at that point, I actually started having dreams about snakes. This was before I even had a snake or got a snake or anything like that. I was having dreams, and they were the very obvious, like scare dreams. Like I would have dreams that either I had snakes and they were getting out of their tank and I couldn't control it. I would have dreams that I had too many snakes and I couldn't control them. They're all going different directions and they were getting away from me and there's just too many snakes. And then I started having dreams that I was getting bit by snakes, because I have to say that the potential of getting bit is perhaps the most scary thing about owning a snake. And it's something that you have to kind of come to terms with, that at some point I'm very likely going to get bit. And it's going to hurt my pride and it's going to hurt my ego. And it might hurt me a little bit, might make me bleed, but honestly, it's going to be fine, especially with these guys. They only get to be about 3 to 4 feet long. They're not very big. I mean, their heads, you'll see when I get them out, their heads are very tiny. And their teeth are even tinier. I mean, these guys can't hurt you. But it's like when you get your ears pierced or something, with that gun, and that it's like that, the shock of it is what hurts over the actual, any pain that you might feel. And so I started having these dreams, and then I was sitting at sitting one evening. It was a Sunday evening. It was kind of late. It was like the day before Christmas a couple years ago, maybe a couple days before Christmas. And I had been looking at different breeds and I couldn't decide which one I wanted to go with. And one day I wanted this one day I wanted this one. And I just couldn't decide because they all have their own pros and cons. They all have their levels of care and space requirements and expensiveness and, things like that. And so I was just sitting there on a Sunday evening and I was like, I just really got this, like, I have to go up to this pet store. So I ended up convincing my husband to take me up there. He's like, you're crazy, but I love you. And okay, let's go. Right. And so we go up there, we go up to this pet shop and it's there. I go up there, I make a beeline for the snakes because I thought at the very least I want to hold and handle them. I thought, well, maybe, because at that point I had never even I did handle snakes when I was very young, but it was like 20 years since I had handled snakes. So it had been a really long time. And I didn't even know if I could even do it. I didn't even know if I could even touch it. I was terrified to even touch it. So I just wanted to go up there and, least of all, I just wanted to go up there and just maybe handle them or touch them and just see if I could actually do it. Right. So I get up there. I go to the snake enclosures. There's no snakes. They're all out. So I go up to the counter and I'm just like asking the lady there. I said, when do you guys think you're going to be getting some snakes in? I'm really interested in getting one. I'm not sure what I want yet, but I wanted to come up here and maybe ask some questions and kind of feel it out and maybe hold some different ones and see, how I felt about it. She said, well, it's winter. It's Christmas. It's the middle of winter. Babies aren't really born at this point, so we don't have very many available. I said, okay. And she said, I do have this little baby in the back, but we don't think it's going to make it, and we don't feel comfortable putting it up for sale because they were going to be doing like a vet check on it, a vet inspection on it to see if it passed so it could go to the floor to be for sale. The girls were very, very confident that it was not going to pass. And she said, well, yeah, I mean, it's either that or we're going to end up euthanizing it. So would you like to see it? Would you like to see it? And I said, okay. So she brings out this little, this little, like, tiny little coiled thing. It was completely emaciated. It was emaciated, starved. It was just skin and bones. It was all wrinkly. It barely had any energy to lift its head up. It had several layers of stuck shed on it. It had its eye caps on. So if you don't know, when snakes shed, they shed their eye. They have an eyelid that sheds off, and it was just a very sickly little thing. And my husband's like, no, we don't. No. Because I have a history of bringing home sick animals. He's like, no, you're gonna get attached to the snake, and it's gonna die. And then I can't go through that with you. And I said, okay. So I gave the baby back, and I said, all right, we're going to pass, but thank you so much, and best of luck, right? And so my husband saw that I was obviously distraught about this. He's like, let's go, because there was another local pet shop up north. He's like, let's go drive up there and see if they're open. I think we would have made it like 15 minutes to be actually in the shop by the time they were going to close. So I said, okay. So we got in the car, we drove an hour north, we go into this pet shop, get there. They have tons and tons of snakes, lots and lots of snakes. And I'm looking at all of them and I'm not feeling a connection to any of them. None of them are speaking to me. None of them look like they belong with me. Like, I'm trying to see if any of them, I have a psychic connection with any of them. Nothing. So we turn around, we walk out the door, and we both look at each other and like, let's go get the baby. And I said, okay. So we drove another hour back to that pet shop, just made it at closing, right before they closed. Ended up having them stay an extra 20 minutes to give me everything, because I had to buy everything. I had to buy the tank, I had to buy the substrate, I had to buy the food, I had to buy the hides, I had to buy the water dishes, I had everything. I had to buy everything, right? And so I get there and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take it. So they ended up giving it to me for free. And so now and then I spent like $200 or $300 on the setups and everything like that. So I get home and then I'm setting everything up. And the first 3 months with this snake was very touch and go. And it was a free snake that ended up costing about $1,200 because we had to go to the vet every 2 days and get shots, and we did multiple rounds of that for several weeks. It was on very specialized, like high caloric kind of food replacement, like I stayed up nights and mornings and didn't sleep days to make sure the snake was alive and okay, you know. So this went on for about 3 months or so. And about after that point, I didn't like, we started getting all the dead shed off. I started getting it on food and feeding, and slowly but surely it started coming back to life. And so it took me about 6 months, but I did nurse that snake back to life. And when we left, we both decided we were going to call him Jinx, because he was a really unlucky snake and he probably wasn't going to make it. I'm happy to say that Jinx is still around, that he's still here. And to my surprise, I later found out that Jinx is actually a girl. So I have Jinx, and then I have also Mojo, who Mojo came along a little bit after. I'll do another video where I talk about Mojo's adoption story and what I went through with him. He was a much easier case, but he was very, very what I call spicy. He was really spicy, as in like he was really hard to tame down. Whereas Jinx basically started getting sassier the better she felt. Like that's how I knew she was actually doing really well, because she started hissing and stuff at me. And although that's kind of scary, it actually is good, because it means that she's feeling good enough to defend herself. So there's that. Yeah, so she has pulled through. I remember the stories you mentioned about the snake I was pulling for him to make it. Yeah. This is how I got my first cat. She lived 20 years. Yay. And Renee says, oh my goodness, oh my goddess, how challenging to go through this with Jinx. And it was very, very challenging. And also it was very much like I dove into the deep end. Like I didn't just get a snake, I got a snake that I had to actually nurse back to health. And so no matter what, I'll have a soft spot. And they can live up to 40 to 60 years. So these are forever animals. These are forever pets if you ever decide. So I wanted to kind of pivot and just talk about some ways to utilize Serpent in your actual Magick in very practical ways. And then we're going to do a Q&A, and I'll get the babies out and you can meet them, and we can, you can ask questions about them. Okay. So what you're going to learn when you start working with serpent energy is that there's solar serpent energy and there's lunar serpent energy. Now, when you are working with serpents, yes, you can just work with any old serpent. If you find any old shed, if you find that at like an occult store, or you find it somewhere, you can just work with anything. But if you really want to enhance the power of your serpent magic, start learning about the different types of serpents. And basically, if you know nothing else, know this, is that there's solar diurnal species that are awake during the day. Sorry, my allergies. And then there's lunar nocturnal serpents that are awake during the night, that are mostly associated with nighttime. Now, what you're going to find, come on, allergies. What you're going to find is that the solar serpent energies are nicer. They're kinder. They're a little bit more about healing, and it's really more fluffy. They have more of like a fluffy kind of personality. That the serpent shed that you might use for a solar diurnal type of species is really good for like beautification, bringing in the warmth of the sun, confidence building, anything that you really associate with the solar energies. You can put in as utilize it magically as the species that it comes from. The nocturnal species are more associated with the lunar, and also more specifically associated with the dark moon. Because if you read studies, because I look at this very much as like learning magic based off their behaviors. So when you look at studies that show the activity levels of different types of nocturnal snakes. What they find is that when the moon is in full, the activity goes down about 70 to 80%, meaning they're not seeing them burrowing, they're not seeing them hunting, they're not seeing them out. Nocturnal snakes are especially active during the dark moon phase or the new moon phase, when there's just that little sliver of light, because how they see in the dark is through thermal. Like, at least with pythons, the ones that I have over here, they have little like indents into their mouth. And what it does is it like sends signatures to their brain that like transcribes it into thermal imaging. And so when they're hunting at night, they don't actually, most snakes are actually very, very blind. They don't have very good sight at all. But pythons, especially, and the ones that I work with, are they hunt by thermal imaging. So they actually hunt through seeing thermal signatures. And so it's best to do that when it's the darkest outside. So this is another reason why you're going to see a lot of serpent magic or a lot of serpent mysticism related to the dark and the new moon, as well as the whole regenerative renewal kind of process to it. Now I want a snake. They are a lot of fun. They are also a lot of work, but they're a lot of fun. And so the solar and lunar thing. Okay. So, for example, how might you utilize that in different ways? So let's talk about the different like ways you can utilize the different parts of a snake. So this is a self-love bottle jar that I've made. Actually, I think someone made me this. I don't think I made this. I think someone made me this a long time ago. But it has a binaural Western Plains hognose snakeskin shed in it. It also has jasmine, it has lavender, it has chamomile, calendula, and rose petals. And you can also see where Jinx, this Scorpio is fascinated. Thank you. Jinx is a Scorpio, and Mojo is an Aries. I'll talk about that too. And I also burned, like, there's this pink candle up here that was burned to kind of seal it in. And I think it looks like there's also some glitter in here and just some beautification kind of herbs. And this is a self-love jar that I have and that I keep on my altar. Love to do these. You can also do these as far as like protection goes. You could put like some protection herbs like rosemary or eucalyptus or something, peppermint, that sort of thing, mugwort or something like that. And you can make your own jars with serpent shed. Now, you can also just keep and display serpent shed. This was courtesy of Jinx. She gave me this on the last super full moon in Scorpio. So I have just dried it out. At this point, I haven't processed it because I'm not sure exactly what I want to do with it. But I think what I'm going to do with it, because it was given to me on a full moon and it was a super moon in Scorpio, I think I'm going to turn this into a couple different things. First of all, I think I'm going to make this into a reversal powder for reversal spells or back to sender kind of spells, because it's associated with full moon in Scorpio. And so I'm going to probably, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grind this down in my mortar and pestle over there. And I'm going to add maybe some charcoal and some sea salt and maybe some peppermint or something like that. Okay. Some reversal things. I think I'm also going to perhaps you can even utilize it if you wanted to, like in bags, Mojo bags. You could put it in jars. You can just grind it up or I've even seen people take it and cut it and literally put it on their candles and burn their candles that way. So those are some people even make jewelry out of snakeskin shed. You can see that people make pendants. They'll just cut like a little part and they'll make a pendant out of it or something like that. Now you can also get, and just so you know, all of these things that I have been ethically sourced. There's nothing taken from live animals. These are all ethically sourced from animals that have already deceased. Okay. Now talking about, working with reversal or protection magic, or even going into the more darker gray magics, you can definitely work with snake rattle, snake rattle is amazing to be made into a pendant. You can wrap it with some wire or with some twine or something like that, and you can wear it as a pendant. Very, very powerful. I've also seen people make these into like hair things where, you know, they have like, they wrap around the sides and they kind of put them on their little hair beads and things like that. Also really cool to do. But rattlesnake rattles are very, very powerful. You can also just simply use them as a rattle to enter trance. Okay, if you want to go into a shamanic trance, or you want to astral travel or journey in some way. You can also use things like this. These are rattlesnake rib bones. Okay. Now, these are pretty dainty. They're pretty small and pretty fragile. So how I would recommend using these is within bottles. Also, you can sew them into mojo bags or medicine bags or just rockroy bags. That's kind of what I use because it's from the German powwow Dutch tradition. But yeah, you can certainly sew these in. You can put them into amulets. There's a lot of things that you can do with that as well. And depending on the species, so say, for example, if these were rattlesnake, because they are rattlesnakes, you could put these into, for rattlesnake, anything protection or anything that you want to bite someone else, okay, any type of darker magics, you can certainly use that. I use the rib bones in my bone divination kit. Yeah, I gave Susie some, last time I saw Susie in person, like a couple weeks ago it was, and I gave her some shed and some bones and stuff, and she uses it. This is a really cool thing too. These are snake vertebrae. You can turn these into jewelry and make protection amulets out of them as well, because they have that hollow thing through, so you can literally make like a beaded, you know, you can make something beaded, or you could just put them in medicine bags, or you can put them in bottles and things like that. And I particularly like to use the vertebrae, especially for strength, because whenever I think of vertebrae, I think of something strong that uplifts, right? And that it provides a foundation for. So anytime I want to like provide some strength or some extra oomph, I might use some vertebrae. And so you can also utilize serpentine. Serpentine is a type of stone that's called serpentine, and it's got this beautiful like greenish, brownish, blackish kind of color to it. And there's different kinds of serpentine. There's some that are really yellow, some that are like really kind of greenish, bluish in a way. And so you can utilize serpentine stones like this to bring about, you can put it on your person, you can put it in your bags, your jars, wherever you want to put it. It's kind of expensive, so I don't know if I'd necessarily like use it as far as like burning it in a candle and throwing away, but certainly carrying a piece of serpentine can keep you open to divine wisdom. It can keep you protected, and it can help you bring the energy of snake with you when you want to be more, you know, inconspicuous with it. Okay, so I think I've showed you all of that. So I would love to get, oh, and then I also have some fangs. These are some rattlesnake fangs here. Let me open this and get these out. Now, these are really good for revenge work or for dark magic, especially. These are rattlesnake fangs. And I'm going to give you guys a principle that talks more about how to use the different parts of the snake. But if you wanted to, you certainly could pierce your enemy's likeness through a puppet or a picture or something with these fangs, and, you know, to kind of help karma along, right? So the fangs are probably the most expensive, and I got a pair for like, I think it was like 25. Okay, secret. Thank you, Renee. Secret question is, what has been the most fascinating thing that you have learned about during this live stream about serpent energy? What has been the most fascinating thing that you have learned about that? And then what I want you to do is, don't answer here, but I want you to go find the post in the pinned announcement section and in the guide section to for your chance to win this book. Okay, so I'm going to get Jinx out first. And oh yes, you probably will find some at the oddities market. I bet you will. I bet you will. And I'm going to take my earrings out because I don't like to have anything on my person that could potentially hurt them. And I'm going to get some sanitizer. And I wanted to talk over the next 10, 15 minutes or so. We might be here a little bit over an hour, okay? But it's, if you don't want to be part of this, or, snakes kind of freak you out, this might be a good time to kind of click away. But if I do encourage you to stay and to meet my favorite little people ever. Okay. So we're going to start with Jinx. Hey, sweetheart. Hi, would you like to come out? I have to see what kind of mood she's in, because you never really know. Hi. Hi. All right. So this is my baby girl. You get a little closer so you guys can see her. This is my baby girl, Jinx. This is who I had to nurse back to health. When I got her, she fit into the palm of my hand, and she's pretty big now. I would describe her personality really as like very sassy. And she kind of thinks like she knows everything there is to know about everything. I would describe her as like a typical teenager right now. I know she's so big, isn't she? She's so sweet, but she's like the typical teenager that says, "Don't come in my room," right? Anytime I go to get her out, most of the time she like hisses at me, but she's fine when she comes out. She just doesn't like to be disturbed. Jinx could literally like live in a box the rest of her life and she'd be happy. She's not an active snake. She's not a social snake. She doesn't really like to be socialized. She tolerates being handled. Look how fat she is now. We've been working on that so hard just to get some weight on her. But she's a little skittish, She likes to try to get away. She's usually a little bit slower than this, but she is under these really bright lights right now. And I remember if I said that she, snakes are pretty much blind, so bright lights are kind of difficult on them. But she's doing really good, and she's just a very, very happy girl. She's an introverted snake. She is. She has an amazing food response. The only time that I have to worry about her ever biting me is when it's time for food, because she gets very, very food motivated. She's like me in that way. She's very, very food motivated, and that she really loves her food. And that's the only time I really have to worry about her. Otherwise, she's very calm. She's a very curious snake. Her favorite game, she's a Scorpio. Her favorite game is to play hide and go seek. She likes this game I play with her, and we played it since she was a little baby. But what we would do is I put a whole bunch of blankets on the bed and put her in the blankets, and she likes to play hide and go seek, where she'll like come around the edge and like stalk me and try to like hunt me. And it's really cute, because then I'll like spot her and I'll go, "I see you." And then she'll dart back under the blankets and she'll come around a different side. So she really, really likes to play hide and go seek. She also loves anything with RuPaul, anything with Drag Race. She's exceptionally interested in Dragula with the Boulet brothers, I think it is. She loves drag. She will sit down and just watch TV, because that's pretty much all she could do when she was a baby. That's all. And she does this thing, what I call Jinx jail, snake jail. She's the only one that does this, but she'll wrap my hands around in like a jail position, like I'm in handcuffs, and she'll keep me here. But she loves anything with RuPaul Drag Race, because when she was a baby, that's all that, she could do. We would just sit on the bed and watch RuPaul's Drag Race and just try to keep her alive and healthy and things like that. And in fact, she even looks a little dull right now, so she might even be going into shed here pretty soon. She's usually a lot blacker. Her black is usually a lot more dark. But I think she really just likes the singing and the dancing and the bright lights and things like that. I think is what she likes the most. But she is a great snake. She always has to get away. Like I said, she doesn't like to be handled that much. So this is about, about 15 minutes maximum is about all I really try to put her through. But I remember being so terrified of holding her, especially when she was a baby, that I would literally just grab her and I would just stare at her and I'd be so scared. And if you watch that other video, I have my other training about it, you'll hear more about like how me and her used to bond and things like that. Dragula, yeah, I used to see those gals at the club a lot when they used to go out and had a life, right? Yeah, she really loves Dragula. We love that. Are you ready to go back in? Should we get Mojo out now? She's like, no, I'm just starting to sniff around. And if you see her doing her tongue like that and those long tongue flicks, it's because she's just trying to read the room. She's just trying to see what's going on. And she's so funny. She's a rapper. She likes to wrap around me and hang on to me. Mojo doesn't at all like to do that at all. You'll see Mojo. He's more like a big floppy marshmallow. Okay, my girl, you ready to go back in? It's okay. It's all right. I'll put you back in. I'll just put her in her little blanket and she'll be okay. You got to let go of me first, though. She likes to play that game, too, where I try to put her down. I try to put her down, and she basically what she does is she holds on to me so I can't put her down. She's like, wait. She doesn't like to be held, but she doesn't like to be left alone. She's funny like that. Okay, let's meet Mojo. Now, someone had a question about what snakes eat, or they had issues with snakes and what they eat. And yeah, unfortunately, there is no such thing as a vegetarian snake. All snakes are carnivorous, or I think there's like 1 or 2 species of snakes that would actually like eat eggs instead of prey items. Hi, buddy. You want to come out for a little bit? You come out. Come here. Come here. Actually, I'm going to put you on top of your sister so that she doesn't try to get out. Okay, so I'm very fortunate in the way, as you can see, Mojo is considerably bigger. This is Mojo, and he's the goodest of snakes. He's a good boy. Huh? He's a good boy. Yeah, he's a good boy. He's so chill. He's just a marshmallow. He just kind of lays here. He doesn't really try to get away. I'm very lucky in that both of my snakes actually can eat frozen thawed. And what that means is that the animals that I feed them are humanely euthanized before I ever get them. They're frozen and they're sent to me via cold packing. And I'm very, very lucky that both of mine have taken to frozen thawed and that I don't have to feed them live animals. It is a possibility that someday they could choose to just randomly, not eat frozen thawed anymore. But that usually doesn't happen if you get them on frozen. So luckily, mine will eat frozen. So it's not as gross as someone might think. What kind of snake is Mojo? He is also a ball python. He is the exact same snake as Jinx. He is just a leucistic white version. And I'll put him up here so you can see him a little bit better. As you can see, he's got a beautiful kind of gray smoky mask on his face. And he's a very curious social boy. He is at his cage doors almost every single day asking to come out. As you can see, he's very interested in what's going on. He has to be part of everything. He is an extroverted snake. And he is an Aries. He's your typical Aries. And he might not be able to see it, but he does have a yellow dorsal stripe down his back. And then he has, I don't know if you can see, but he has some like yellowish gray spotting like on his tail. So he's not a completely white snake, but he's pretty white. And when he goes into shed, he turns like this grayish, smoky kind of color. And he's just a good boy. He's so chill. I mean, look at him. He's really not trying to get away. He understands like bubbles. He's going to want to go. This is his favorite thing. He likes to hide in my hair. A lot of the time I will just like get him out and go do laundry or wash dishes or something, because he's just that kind of hangout snake. She says, I'm wondering if you ever put them together. I don't put them together because, so snakes, especially ball pythons, here, come here. Nobody can see your cute little face. Come here. Nobody can see your face. He's like really curious about all the stuff that's behind me. So he's wanting to get into that kind of stuff. So males, ball pythons, they mature at like 1 year old. He is pretty much a mature male. He's 1 year, he's a little bit over 1 year old. Jinx is 1.5 years old. Female ball pythons can take up to 3 years to sexually mature. So that means if I were to put them together, he would probably try to breed with her, and it would stress her out because she is not ready to breed. She needs to be about 3 times bigger than what she is right now, or at least twice as big if I was to try to breed her. Whereas males like Mojo, he pretty much is full grown. He might get a little bit bigger, but this is pretty much it. And he's ready to rock and roll. He's ready to start making babies. So I do have plans at some point to do breed them. I do want to breed them. I also want to introduce another female in. I've been looking for her. I have a deposit down at one place. I haven't seen her yet. I'll know her when I see her. Like I keep looking at pictures and snakes for sale, but they're just not, she's just not here yet. I don't know where she is, but I'll know her when I see her. I've already got the name Ouija picked out for her. But basically what I want to do is I would love to breed and produce white snakes. So I was going to tell you guys this one dream I had. So once I started working with Jinx and I started getting her healthy and like she was doing really well, I had this different kind of dream about snakes. Because remember I said I was having some dreams about snakes, and it was like scary dreams, right? Like they would get out or they'd bite me or something. Nobody can see your face, darling. There you go. And so I had this one dream that was different. And I had this dream where I had this ancestor. It looks like he's choking me, but he's not. I just have a fat neck. So don't worry. He's not squeezing me or anything too hard. And I had this dream that I had this ancestor gave me this white snake. And so I took the white snake and I realized that I could take the white snake and I could duplicate the white snake. And she said to me, you need to give the medicine to all of your unhealed ancestors. And I think I was talking to Marissa. I think I talked to Marissa. No, he's not really heavy. He's about 2 pounds. He's only about 2 pounds. He's about 1,000 grams. So he's not really that heavy at all. They actually feel like a leather couch. If you ever felt like a leather couch, that's what he feels like. They're actually very, very soft. They're very soft. They're not slimy at all. They feel like baby skin, kind of. Like he's just really soft. And in that dream, and so then the rest of that dream was me like duplicating these white snakes and giving them out to all of my unhealed ancestors. And so I thought that was a really profound dream because it was such a different dream than I had of snakes, you know, before that point, where I was living in fear of snakes. No, I don't want kisses. Thank you. And so it was a really, really great dream. And I think I was talking to Marissa and telling Marissa about it. She's going to be coming in and teaching this week too. She is a shamanic coach. She's my shamanic coach. And I belong to her shamanic school. And so I was talking to her about this and she's like, wow, it's, you know, it seems like, hi. It seems like that they're really helping you with your ancestral healing and stuff. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. And I remember specifically, I was giving white snakes away to all of the female, the feminine identifying people in my lineage, backwards and forwards. And so I do feel that at some point I do want to breed white snakes, and I want to have a very, very small breeding boutique breeding facility thing where I'm basically rearing snakes to work with shamans. I don't want to sell pet snakes. And, you know, if I end up keeping all of the snakes that I ever breed, that's fine too. But I definitely feel like that dream was like, okay, this is your gift. This is what you're going to be gifting. This is part of your medicine, part of the medicine you're going to be gifting other people. And you know, I don't know if there's a demand for it. I just know that it's in my heart, and that's something that I kind of want to do. Isn't he sweet? See, he's such a different snake than Jinx. He just hangs out. He's just such like he's like the golden retriever of snakes. He's just a sweet boy. So you'll see me having lots of pictures of him, and it's not because I like him more than Jinx. I love Jinx more, but Jinx is a different kind of snake. She's a Scorpio. She needs her own space. She's not a very social, but this one is very social. So anyways, does anybody have any questions about snakes before I let you guys go? Did you guys enjoy this workshop? Did you guys enjoy meeting my little snake friends and learning about snakes and seeing that they're really not anything to be scared of? They're not, especially this one. He's super derpy. He's just very, very sweet. All right, guys, if nobody has any questions, I thank you guys so much for coming and being part of today's workshop. I hope you got a lot out of it. We're going to have an amazing rest of the week. We have Renee coming in later tonight, this evening. So if you are interested in learning how to lucid dream, make sure that you attend her workshop and check her out. And thank you guys so much for coming. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you guys in the group. Bye.